Good evening all. I'd just like to welcome you along to my self-sabotage workshop. So we'll start off with the first slide. How many times have you tried to use willpower to start a new habit and failed? I know that I'm guilty of this, and a simple example for me currently is setting my alarm for 6 a.m. and pressing the snooze several times. And really this stops me going for a walk because my mind is telling me that I can go later in the evening. And the mind is bargaining with itself. Do you know that if you stop doing what is counterproductive, the stuff you want will just happen? So look for evidence in your life of things that you have changed or things that you do out of habit. There are things like washing dishes, cleaning your teeth, or riding a bike. And these things you never have to think about because they're just on automatic. Some common examples of self-sabotage are when you tell yourself, I want to lose 5 kgs of weight, but oops, I just ate all the cheese and biscuits put out in front of me. And this appears to happen quite subconsciously without you even thinking about what you're doing. Now, why does this happen? Well, humans are pleasure-seeking machines. Our brains are programmed like this. Short-term pleasure pays off, and we harbour many fears. We harbour the fear of missing out, the fear of the feeling of lack, or the fear of the feeling of not enoughness in ourselves. And the other things that we need to become aware of is that we have this desire to be comfortable all of the time. And self-sabotage in most instances is an immediate desire for comfort. Does this ring true for you? So how can we change our brains? Think about some of the things that you've tried to do over the past year. An example for me is that I want to meditate every morning, but I don't think I have time. How about if I change this thought to, I want to meditate every morning, and I know that it sets the tone for my whole day ahead. Using the word I is extremely important in this new thought. Drinking alcohol is another one. I really want to drink less alcohol, but I think that socializing without alcohol will be boring. Now, if I change this thought to I really want to drink less, and I really enjoy waking up fresh and rested every day, it's going to be a lot easier for me to accept this change in my life. These thoughts help you to retrain your brain, because if I think back, there are numerous coffee dates, 3 pregnancies, or times I haven't actually felt like drinking. So does this sound a little bit too simple? Probably. So how do we get to work on our brain? We need to become aware of what we're feeling. We need to learn how to process emotion. And we need to understand that about half of the time, those emotions are going to be uncomfortable. And that does not mean something has gone wrong. In fact, it means we're human, and it means we're growing and we're evolving. So we have to be careful not to get caught up in the trap that life should be good, comfortable all the time, or that we should be happy all the time, because ironically, that's what actually leads to self-sabotage. That leads us to believe I deserve a break, or I deserve food, or I'm too tired to do this thing that I planned on doing. I need some rest and I need some comfort. Now, I'm not talking about when you genuinely need rest. I'm talking about when you are feeling sorry for yourself. That self-pity that prevents you from pursuing your goals. And so we'll tell ourselves that we don't need to show up, that we can procrastinate, that it doesn't matter, that we don't matter, and that's how we get into that spiral. So how do we actually get ourselves out of the spiral. I've got 3 steps for you to follow here. So step 1 is that you can take control of your emotions. Start really choosing to experience all of our emotions, all the good and all the negative emotions. And you can practice this. You can start by beginning to notice emotions, naming them. Common ones, obviously, are happy, sad, angry, disappointed, excited, anxious. So just begin by using those common ones to really get into the habit of noticing your emotions. Step 2 is killing procrastination. We procrastinate because we'd rather not work than work. We don't show up because we'd rather not experience the rejection or not experience the energy that it takes to show up somewhere. We'd rather just go hide under the covers and disappear from our lives. We'd rather buffer away that emotion by sleeping, drinking, or overeating. And so when we remind ourselves that discomfort is part of the deal and that procrastinating doesn't prevent the discomfort, it just prolongs it and it delegates it to some future moment for ourselves. And then we still have the goal that we want. And now we've procrastinated and now we have the discomfort of having had self-sabotage. Step 3, control. The last piece is our desire to be in control and trying to control the universe to make ourselves feel better can create a lot of self-sabotage. I see this mainly in relationships where people are really trying to control their relationships so they can be happier and more connected, and they actually create the opposite effect. It's like we have these rules of how things need to happen in the world in order for us to feel a certain way. And so we end up sabotaging the very thing that would provide us with that result naturally without our interference. So again, just being aware of those experiences in our life and looking at why did I do that? What is it that I was believing in that moment that created this situation where I decided to do this thing, and that was self-sabotaging. Now, imagine life without self-sabotage, because we can eliminate self-sabotage from our lives, which I do think we can. We can change the speed at which we accomplish our biggest goals, and nothing perpetuates momentum and growth and evolvement more than momentum, growth, and evolvement. It's like the more we win, the more we want to win. The more energy we put in and the more results we get, the more energy we want to put in. And the more we sabotage, the more we want to sabotage, the more we get in the habit of sabotaging. So it's almost like one of those big rocks that we have to push out of the way and giving up, not showing up, and giving up, quitting. I want you to really think about your life. If you gave those things up, those 4 things, if you gave up procrastination, buffering, not showing up, and quitting, you'd have to completely give up self-sabotage. But can you imagine what you would create in your life? My guess is you're worried that you would feel uncomfortable more often. And what I want to suggest is you can embrace discomfort in the moment more often. So you have the temporary discomfort versus the extended discomfort. Now, lastly, I just wanted to talk to you about the mind story. There are 3 main roadblocks that are going to get in the way of you pursuing your dreams, and they are what is created within your mind. Number 1 is the fear of failure. We have an immediate response that originates from the amygdala when it fires up and says, back it right up. So you know that there's an untapped potential lurking inside of you. And you know that staying stuck is no longer an option. And you know that you want more, but your brain is firing up the fear. And this is really the very primitive part of our brain that harbors the sympathetic nervous system. And that's our fight, flight, freeze part of our brain. And that fires up and says it wants to keep you safe. And so it'll tell you not to go and do this wonderful dream of yours. Number 2 is the failure of success. So what if this does work? Creating success requires 2 things: that you're willing to work through the muck, and you need to keep going so that you continue to move forward. And then there's the fear of disappointing others. And it's kind of a little bit like tall poppy syndrome. A feeling that I might disappoint my family, my friends, and also you've got the little inner critic inside your head that's whispering to you that you might not be good enough to actually do this. And so it's really important to understand that these are the stories that your mind has created for you, and they're not true. They are just stories. And so what's really important is that you get to notice what your brain or your mind is telling you. I've got one last little story to talk to you about here, and it's a story that you'll know from your childhood, Goldilocks and the 3 bears. And so a little girl named Goldilocks went for a walk in the woods, and she came upon a house. She knocked, but no one answered, so she went in. She was hungry and tired and tried the porridge on the table. One was too hot, one was too cold, and the third was just right, so she ate it all up. Then she was getting a little tired, so she went into the living room and saw 3 chairs. 2 were too big and one was just right. She sat in it, but it broke into pieces. Then she was getting really tired and decided to go upstairs. She tried out the beds. One was too hard, one was too soft, and the third was just right, so she fell asleep on it. In the meantime, the bears came home and noticed the porridge gone, the broken chair, and found Goldilocks in the bed. She woke up and ran away. I share this with some of my coaching clients and encourage those listening to me tonight to actually decide, how much risk that you are capable of trying out, or what you're comfortable with. So what is your risk-taking goal? What would you have to do to push yourself just a little bit beyond your comfort zone to make that goal a reality? Let's learn to turn a negative story into a positive outcome. Create a new belief, a new action, and a new emotional outcome for yourself. And actually become your own cheerleader. Stop beating yourself up every time that something goes wrong, and really look after yourself. Thanks for sharing your evening with me, and I hope to see you back here soon.